Hello! Behold the new and hopefully improved picture quality. I recorded this on my phone this time just to see what it looks like. This is actually my second attempt because I discovered I can't do more than 25 minutes. I don't really know how to change that, so I'm now trying to say the same stuff in less time. Let's see how that works. Yes, I know we need a new wardrobe. It's on my list of things to do just below marrying Jenna Coleman, so I'll get round to it one day. But part of the reason I haven't paid for a new wardrobe is I'll be spending my money on something far more worthwhile. Going to the London Film and Comic Con in Earls Court. Normally when I do a video like this talking about an event, I will say, in sort of vague assumption that somebody cares, what I thought went well and what didn't, and tell people whether it would be worth going to in the future or not. That's sort of a bit pointless this time because there isn't going to be another one at Earls Court. Apparently, this is one of the last things that will be whole hell there before the entire place gets demolished to make way for flats. Possibly that's why it was a relatively quiet event, especially compared to the last one. But, from talking to other people that Stan Lee was at, that was insane. But even compared to previous ones, it was fairly quiet. But it was still sort of set up as if they were expecting huge crowds of people, which was slightly disconcerting when you were sort of in queues for autographs and that. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. I'll do the non-Transformers stuff first, and people I met, before I get on to sort of meat of the video. And first, and quite excitingly for me, was meeting Colin Salmon, Arrow, 24, Resident Evil, yada yada yada. For me, he's Robinson from the Pierce Brosnan Bond films. But I wasn't sure what to take to get for him to get signed. The Bond 50 Blu-ray set would be perfect, but also quite cumbersome with the other stuff I took down with me. So I settled on the Bond in Motion book from the exhibition in Covent Garden earlier this year, and he very nicely signed that. And he was a very friendly man as well. You know, he sort of, you could tell he probably does a lot of conventions and stuff because he knows how to talk to you in a way that's friendly and taking an interest, but at the same time is relatively quick and sort of a perfect, very friendly encounter. Really smashing bloke. The other exciting one for me was Lalla Ward. Oh, anyone who has watched any of my videos will know I am unduly excited by Lalla Ward. So getting her to sign the City of Death DVD cover was wonderful. I didn't get a photo with her because I was incredibly tongue-tied, just sort of going, Did you know City of Death is quite good? Only probably slightly more awkward. But she was still very kind and gracious, and that was great. The other non-Transformers person I maybe have to meet was Katie Sackhoff. That's probably the weakest experience of the three. Not because of her, she was perfectly polite, but because the setup with her was based on the assumption that it would be insanely busy. So that there was all set up to have lots of people looking after her who would mostly deal with you, and then you'd be at her desk in front of her directly for just a couple of seconds, and then you'd be moved on very quickly, which is sort of what you'd expect if there are thousands of people there. When I went up to see her late on Sunday, I was the only person there, sort of being moved through like cattle very quickly by the people around her. Was an odd and pointless experience. But you know, it's still nice to meet her, even though she was also distracted at the same time by a Dr. McCoy toy somebody had got her. But you know, you can't always control how these things go, so no complaints from her, just the people around her. And she was perfectly good at the talk afterwards as well, friendly, funny, giving out advice to her fans not to drink like her character, advice I wish I had followed. Most of the event itself was fairly quiet, there were a lot of empty spaces there. If not for the main person I come to see, or come to last, it probably would have been worth coming all that way from the Midlands for it. But I get some other nice stuff like some Arrow Blu-rays and a Supernatural print from my mom. Has made her very happy. But for the most part, it was Transformers. And the first person I met there is someone I have met before, but I haven't seen for a couple of years. That was Lee Sullivan. Such a lovely, kind, funny man with a lot of time for his fans, and he's such a big geek as well. I mean, he was hugely excited about the fact that some of his Absalom Dak Dalek killer art from, I believe, was Professor McCoy, Doctor Who magazine strip, had actually been used in a TV episode a couple of weeks ago, and he was just dancing on air about that. And I very kindly got from him a sketch of Octus. Yay, Octus! Sorry, I'm still not used to having to go left or right when doing this. This look about is about not just fantastic. Did that in half an hour. Looks glorious. Has the Dalek eye stalk, which the original didn't, because when he suggested that, as he remembers it, Marvel said they shouldn't be that blatant in case the Toy Nation estates had an issue. But it's also nice, it combines my love of Doctor Who, it combines my love of Transformers. It's the first time anyone has drawn that character in a quarter century, and also equally brilliantly, for one hand, he's doing the Vulcan salute. So there's even a Star Trek figure there. That's three of my main interests. If only there'd been a way of getting a Bond homage in there as well. If I'd thought of that would have been perfect. He did the Vulcan thing entirely off his own bat, so sort of really sweet. That ties into things I love perfectly, and hopefully I'll getting a scan of that done, having it professionally coloured and turned into a print by all-round top geezer Chris Carter. Then Jose Delmo, who, you know, weirdly I was incredibly excited about meeting Jose, because I wasn't a huge fan of his art on the book. You know, all based on the character models with the character leaning back as if their torso was going to fall off their legs. But somehow, just the fact he was the artist on the American Stories when I started reading the book got me hugely psyched up for meeting him in a way I wouldn't have expected. And he didn't disappoint. He was such a lovable, friendly man, much like Lee Sullivan, crazy prepared for the event as well. Lots of prints to sell, and lots of stuff about him on the back wall. And he was just having the time of his life, all giddy and excited. Didn't speak English hugely well, but it didn't really matter for myself. You could tell generally that when he came from his prints that what he liked drawing more of the robots was women who were half naked with big tits. So perhaps it's a shame he only got to draw Circuit Breaker for once. But I went for a full Transformers print. Recreated, because I don't think it's just the original art, because it's dated somewhere on there in 2013. That's a nice moment from the comic. And even though you can sort of see there, Megatron's torso is slightly leaning back, as if it's gonna fall off his waist. But yeah, that's still though, that's why we love him. And very nice, friendly man. Pleasant surprise to meet him. And there's some people like Nick Roach, who was very kind. He came one of the greatest backhanded compliments I've ever received. I got off Nick Roach when I apologised to him for being a bit drunk on the last day at Auto Assembly, and in front of probably annoying him slightly with my drunkenness, and he just went, quick as a flash, "Don't worry, you were fine. I didn't think you were drunk. I just thought you were being you." And he meant it in good faith, and he was doing a deliberate joke. And it just absolutely killed me, that did. At least I hope he was doing it in good faith. Maybe I was just being subtly insulted. Roach. And great guy. Jeff Senior was great. Andrew Wildman didn't really get to talk or speak to him at all, because he was all over the place. I think he was sorting out charity comics. But he seemed very happy. And in the talk with the artist, he went into his philosophy on Transformers, on deep metatextual areas that I didn't really agree with, mainly because as a fico, I didn't understand much of what he was going on about. But it was nice to hear that he's really fought hard about those things. And Furman, now, I've not really got up and spoken to Furman for the last couple of auto assemblies because I sort of felt anything I owe that isn't tied down is signed by Simon Furman, and maybe I was slightly, it was unfair of me to monopolise his time when I've met him so often at the expense of people who haven't met him before, sort of having their first Furman experience. I've not got up to him for the last few conventions, but I thought because I was going to get a Titan book, which I'll show off in a minute, signed by Budisnsky, it would be nice to do the same with Furman. So I did go up to him and I got End of the Road, the hardback, because his hardbacks are so lovely, signed by himself, Senior and Baskerville. As I said, I could have grabbed Wildman because he was all up and down. But it was just nice to chat to Furman. First thing he said to me was, "Are you Inflatable Dalek?" Which something that's happened to me a couple of times over the years. And sort of very low level recognition I should really expect from fandom when I'm so active in fandom. But it always makes me do this. Because I don't really... The responsible rationality, I do not expect it at all. So rather than coming up with a witty comeback or something clever, all I said to Furman when he asked me that was... considering I used to do reviews at Transformers Archive before the Micros comics drove me away from them forever, because there's really no point in doing it if there's no fun to be had or nothing nice to be said. I consider Furman over 30 years has had his misses as well as his hits. He could have been sort of pounced on me like a large predatory bird and had his revenge for me not being hugely keen on Regeneration 1. That's, I thought, the same there is what going to happen. Hoist by my own petard. But of course, that's not what happened at all, because Furman is a really nice, fantastically kind, funny, self-effacing bloke. The closest he came to having a dark revenge on me was completely shooting down a theory I had that Rack and Ruin was named after Rocket Raccoon's ship in one of the backup strips that Transformers printed about the same time as Time 2006. And I wrote huge paragraphs on that and the possibility of the Wreckers being named after the Wreckers from an even earlier backup, a Machine Man backup. And he just went, nah, that's stupid. No, not. He didn't say it was stupid, he didn't say he was, had no basis in fact, completely destroying all the words I'd written there. Which is sort of funny in retrospect, and just goes to show that people on the internet with opinions, like me, are just generally pulling them out their ass. But, we can, I think, take Furman for granted at these events, because he's at virtually every auto assembly, virtually every sort of Transformers event that ever happens in the country. And I think that's a shame, because he is so gracious and kind and accommodating, but also at this one he was very humble in terms of his relation with Bob Budisnsky during the talk. He was fully aware that most people were there to see Bob because he hadn't done a British event before, so he pretty much gave Bob the floor and acted as more as an interviewer for Bob, and he did it very well, and that showed a commendable lack of ego on his part. And don't just be blasé about Furman being at these things. If he's there when you are, go up and say hi to him. You won't regret it. I'm sure he won't regret hearing me told how important he was to your childhood again. And I sort of regret passing him by the last few auto assemblies. Basically, all the stuff I've got tied down will be signed by him at the next one. But of course, the main thing I was there for, I'm sure many of you who went, was Uncle Bob, which thankfully I didn't call him to his face. And he doesn't do many conventions, and you can tell he wasn't quite sure how to handle situations one-on-one. He was a little hesitant in talking to people, not in a bad way. He was friendly and polite, and he dealt with people who came up to him and got him to sign all 55 issues of the American comic with incredible good grace. And he was just very friendly. I got him and Delmo in the hardback of Dark Star, which I was very happy with. And my friend Stuart Denyer got a circuit breaker sketch off him. You see how sort of my Delmo, it's a shame Delmo only drew circuit breaker once, because that is clearly much more up his alley, this character, than the robots. That's sort of a lovely circuit breaker sketch, and as a the former member Death's Head pointed out to me, who's a bit of an artist himself, there's bits of Tipex on there where he's correcting mistakes, which is proper old school. When was the last time you saw Tipex? So that is a fantastic piece I'm quite jealous of. Though it's no Octus, is it? No. No, it's not. And it never will be either, Denya. And during the talk was where Bob really shone, because we tend to think of Bob because he admits himself. We think of him as being someone who doesn't remember very much. And it's true, he doesn't really remember character names or specific plot points, but he's actually, when you hear him talk, he's incredibly sharp about the behind-the-scenes stuff. He knows the schedule, he knows the process of people. He can almost give you the exact dates of when things happened, the exact dates in 1983 when he first heard about Transformers, right through to the exact date when he met Furman and had what Furman called the Blair Brown lunch, where they discussed the handover. It's a shame that Earls Court didn't have the facilities to do his PowerPoint presentation with all his original notes, because this is clearly a man who is actually much sharper and more aware of his role in Transformers than you would expect from the way he's so self-effacing in interviews. And, you know, just because he doesn't remember who Skull Cruncher is, he remembers any question you'd ask about what happened behind the scenes. He'd probably have a really good answer for you. And yeah, even the talk itself, there wasn't really much I had heard before. It was sort of nice to hear the reaction of the chap, and I've got no notes here, but I'm not going to try and say his name, the chap who Robot Master was based on, because I've not heard about that before, about how he was genuinely just a little bit pissed off about having such an unlikable character based on him, even though him and Bob were very good friends and was meant in a friendly way. Hence a sort of redemptive ending for Robot Master with Statue of Liberty. So that was interesting. But yeah, even though it was stuff I'd heard before, it was told in an interesting way, and it was a very well done talk. And again, very well hosted by Furman. Generally, from that side of things, that made the entire weekend incredibly worthwhile. And it was worth it for, as well, meeting other fans. You know, Denya, as I said, I met him on the Saturday, and I collected that for him on the Sunday, because it wasn't finished on the Saturday evening. Chris Chapman was very nice to meet you and your charming, I think she's your wife, because I think you mentioned on Twitter that you're married. And it was quite bad because you told me how great you thought my blog was, but I didn't talk to you about your work on the Doctor Who DVD special features, which is great, Chris. I've been enjoying watching those as I've gone through watching the series in order. And at the end of Sunday, meeting with Death's Head and getting very drunk with him. More drunk than I should have, because I did have plans of things to do on a Monday, but it's just so nice to meet with people in the flesh and talk to them about Transformers. I ended up with a dead head, thanks to Death's Head. And I spent most of Monday, when I had all these plans of things, shopping to do in London, well, I just spent it in my hotel room, thinking, well, I could get up any time I wanted, but I would stay in bed for another hour, thinking that every hour. But it was well worth it, you know, to meet this incredible community, because, you know, Transformers is 30 years old, 10 years for me in the Transformers fandom, and we genuinely have, I interact with Doctor Who fandom, I interact with Star Trek fandom. I think genuinely Transformers fandom is the best of those three. It has its foibles, it has its people who are dicks, but mostly everybody, especially in bits of fandom I interact with, sort of smaller communities, within the smaller communities, sort of the TF archive, the people there are so nice and so friendly, and over the 10 years, people like Denya and Cliffjumper and Skyquake and Warcry and Saint and Hound and Night Raven and dozens of people I'm forgetting make it worthwhile. Sort of at the point where I'm at talks, I may have heard every story of that talk before. What makes it worth still going to every auto assembly are those fans, and even the professional fans, like how brilliantly nice people like Nick Roach and Chris Carter and James Roberts and all the others are as well. You could not meet generally a better fandom. I don't know what the American fandom's like, maybe they're all awful. But British fandom, I'm very proud to be a part of. I'm very proud to have been a part of for 10 years. And I'm very glad to have spent this last weekend, that was almost exactly 31 years after Bob Budisnsky had been given the assignment to develop Transformers, to have spent it with some of them. And I hope to have many more auto assemblies, many more events like this where I'll meet you good people. I hope this video looks better. I hope it said something interesting. And I hope you'll keep watching. The next one will be on Action Force movie, probably in a week or so. Rounding out Action Force month. Keep coming to my blog, Transformation, at solarpool.weebly. Just Google that, you'll find it easily enough. Where I'm currently doing both Buster Witwicky and Car Wash of Doom this coming Friday, and today, Wednesday, assuming I get my skates on, I'll be putting part 3 of Ancient Relics up. I think it's part 3. Part 3 or 4. Yeah, that's selling the product. But my thoughts and analysis of that. And I hope all of you enjoy the final months of the 30th anniversary of Transformers. Do something for it. Grab the first issue of Marvel comic off the shelf. Watch an episode of a cartoon that you really enjoy. Read Last Stand of the Wreckers. Do something to celebrate, because the fact it's still here, and that is entirely down to the bedrock given to it in the Marvel comic by the two powerful hissers of Bob Budisnsky and Simon Furman. It's worth celebrating. And I'll see you when I do my Action Force video. Take care.